Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshuram Namitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. One day, Rupa Goswami was doing bhajan. He was weeping and weeping. A beautiful cowherd boy came and asked him, "Oh Baba, what is wrong?" He told him that he couldn't find the deities Govindadev, the Ishtadeva of his heart. The boy told him that every day a cow was dropping her milk on a hill every day at noon. Rupa Goswami gathered all the Vrajavasis and they went to that hill, and sure enough the cow was dropping all her milk. They dug up a beautiful deity of Govindadev, the Lord of his heart, and they built a huge temple and established the deity. Rupa Goswami was so happy because he was able to fulfill one of the orders of Mahaprabhu.
Once upon a time, Rupa Goswami was writing his book at Tirukaramba. The book was called Chatupushpanjali, and Sanatana Goswami came and asked if he could read the book. And when Sanatana Goswami was reading it, he saw in that book there was a comparison of Srimati Radhika's braid to a snake. And he told Rupa Goswami and said that this is not an appropriate comparison because Radharani is so high that she should not be compared to like a poisonous animal. So Rupa Goswami told Sanatana Goswami that he could find another comparison that he thought was more appropriate. Later, Sanatana Goswami was walking on the banks of Radhakund and he saw these little girls pushing their friend on a swing, and behind the girl on the swing, what he thought he saw was like a snake coming up behind her head. And so he started calling out and telling them to be careful, and then when he came closer, everything disappeared in an instant. And he realized in this way that those were no ordinary girls, they were actually Srimati Radhika and her Sakis. And what he thought was a snake was not a snake, it was actually Srimati Radhika's braid. So he realized then that everything Srila Rupa Goswami writes is always perfect and there's never any flaws. Another time, Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami were doing bhajan at Tirukaramba, and this beautiful young little girl had been watching them, and she had seen that they hadn't eaten all day, and she brought some ingredients and a clay pot, and she told them that they can make some kheer because she'd seen that they hadn't eaten at all, and she said she would come back later for her clay pot. And Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami were so absorbed in their bhajan they didn't even know that she was there. And later when she came back to get her clay pot, she saw that they hadn't even touched anything. So she decided she would just make it herself. And she had a pile of sticks, but she didn't have any matches or anything to light the fire. So she just blew on it and fire appeared. And she made wonderful kheer for Rupa and Sanatana Goswami and gave them both a bowl. And she left with her clay pot. And then later when Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami finished their bhajan for that day, they saw the bowl of kheer and they remembered that that beautiful young girl had come and made us kheer, and they both had some, and it was the most wonderful kheer. And they both realized that this was no ordinary girl that had cooked this kheer, it was actually Srimati Radhika herself. And Sanatana Goswami asked Rupa Goswami if Rupa Goswami had any desire while they were doing bhajan. And Rupa Goswami said, yes, I had a desire that I wanted to feed you. I wanted to offer you some prasadam, but I'm a renunciate, so I don't have any food. And Sanatana Goswami told Rupa Goswami that we have to be really careful when we desire things while we're doing bhajan, because Srimati Radhika and Krishna are always willing to serve us and are so merciful to us, but we actually don't want them to serve us, we always want to serve them, so we have to be very careful when we think these things.
One day Srila Rupa Goswami was doing bhajan, and he was meditating upon a pastime at Kusum Sarovar where Krishna was hiding in a tree and Radharani was picking flowers. And Krishna, he would step on a branch and it would lower the branch, and with one hand Radharani, she would hold the branch, with the other hand she would pick flowers. And suddenly Krishna would take his foot off the branch, and it would bounce back up, and Radharani would be hanging there. And so Rupa Goswami started laughing at this while he was in his trance. And so, but a Vaishnava walking nearby named Kanja Krishnadas, he saw this, and he saw that Rupa Goswami was laughing at him since he had some disabilities. And so he was very offended, and he went home. And at that instant, Rupa Goswami's trance suddenly broke. And he was so confused and sad how this could have happened. So he went to his older brother, Sanatana Goswami. And Sanatana Goswami told him that you must have unknowingly offended a Vaishnava. So you should hold a massive feast and invite all the Vaishnavas to come. And whichever one doesn't come, you know that you must have offended him. And so they did this, and sure enough, Kanda Krishnadas, he didn't show up. So Rupa Goswami came to him and apologized and asked what had happened. And Kanda Krishnadas told him what he thought had happened. And Rupa Goswami said that actually he was absorbed in a trance of Radha and Krishna, and he didn't even notice him pass by. And so this story Rupa Goswami shows to always be humble, because even though he was not at fault, he was very humble and he showed lots of humility. And the other lesson of the story is to never offend Vaishnavas, and to always be careful to not do that, because even if it's unknowingly. And another story is one day Rupa Goswami and his nephew Jiva Goswami, they were doing bhajan on the banks of Jamuna, and one day a great acharya, he came by and he went to Rupa Goswami and asked what he was writing. And Rupa Goswami was writing Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and on that page he showed him that he had compared bhukti, which is material desire, and mukti, which is liberation, to a witch. And the great acharya thought this wasn't correct. And so Rupa Goswami told him that he could find a better comparison. And so he went to think about it, and while he was bathing in Jamuna, he heard Jiva Goswami nearby singing songs of the glory of the Jamuna. And after hearing this, the great acharya thought this was so beautiful and asked where he had learned this. Rupa Goswami told him that Rupa Goswami had taught him all of this, and that actually, when you question Rupa Goswami, actually he is correct, because he was just comparing the desire for bhakti and mukti to a witch. Because in the path of bhakti, your only desire should be for bhakti, not for material things or liberation. And so immediately he understood and went back to Rupa Goswami and apologized and told him that actually you are correct and everything you write is pure, but your nephew is very brilliant. And immediately Rupa Goswami had understood what had happened. And when Jiva Goswami came back, he told him that you must leave and you cannot stay with me anymore, because you were not being humble and you were not showing humility. And so Jiva Goswami was sent away, and he was very sad and in separation from Rupa Goswami. He ended up doing bhajan in a crocodile cave. And one day, Sanatana Goswami was passing by there, and the people that lived there told him that there's a renunciate living here, just like you, except he's been more renounced than you. And he is lost in separation, only calling out the name of Rupa Goswami. And so when Sanatana Goswami came there, he found Jiva Goswami, and he was fasting and in separation from Rupa Goswami. And so he brought him back to Rupa Goswami, and upon seeing the state he was in, Rupa Goswami's heart immediately melted and he accepted him again. And in the story, Srila Gurudev, he explains that actually both Rupa Goswami and Jiva Goswami are correct, because Rupa Goswami sent Jiva Goswami away because a Vaishnava should always be humble and show humility, and so he teaches us to be humble. And then Jiva Goswami is correct, because he stood up when his guru was disrespected, and just like this, we should not tolerate if our guru is disrespected.
Vairagya Juga Bhakti Rasam Prayatna Kapaya Manu Bhikshumandam Kripambudirja Paralokaduki Sanatanastam Prabhumarshayami. I was unwilling to drink the nectar of Bhakti Ras, which is endowed with renunciation. But Srila Swami, being an ocean of mercy, you cannot tolerate the suffering of others, induce me to drink it. Therefore, I take Sanatana Goswami as my guru.
One day, Sanatana Goswami and his servant, Ishan, they were traveling to Vrindavan, and while they were walking on a mountain pass, they came across an inn, which they decided to stay in. Sanatana Goswami quickly noticed that the innkeeper was being overly kind, telling him that he could just stay here for the night and he shouldn't worry. And this made Sanatana Goswami suspicious of the innkeeper's true intentions. In the morning, Sanatana Goswami asked his servant Ishan how many gold coins he had. Ishan told him that he only had seven gold coins. Sanatana Goswami took these gold coins to the innkeeper because he understood that this innkeeper was a thief who would kill his guests for their wealth. The innkeeper became very grateful that Sanatana Goswami gave him the gold coins because he had noticed that Sanatana Goswami was a great devotee and stealing from one would be a great offense. The innkeeper also explained that he had an astrologer that would tell him how many gold coins each of the guests would have. And the astrologer told him that Sanatana Goswami would have 8 gold coins. Sanatana Goswami understood and went to Ishan and told him that he should go home because he wasn't being truthful about the amount of gold coins he had, and that he should go home because Krishna should be your sole protector and sole main maintainer. And you cannot stay by his side if you had material desire for material things like those coins. Another time, Sanatana Goswami was staying at Jagannath Puri with Haridas Thakur at Siddhabokul, and he wanted to go visit Lord Chaitanya, and there was 2 paths to get to Lord Chaitanya. There was a path along the beach, which would burn your feet if you walked on because it was a very hot summer day, or there was the main road, which everybody traveled on. And he decided to take the path along the ocean, and when he reached Lord Chaitanya quickly realized that his feet were very burnt and blistered, and he asked Sanatana Goswami why he took this path instead of the main road, and Sanatana Goswami explained that he did not want to contaminate the other devotees because he thought he was very low caste. And Mahaprabhu, upon hearing this, was very happy that his devotees were being very humble. Sanatana Goswami was being very humble, and he was also sad that his devotees were going through hardship. It shows we should be simple.
So every day, Srila Sanatana Goswami would do parikram of Govardhan. And in order to get to Govardhan, you have to travel from Vrindavan and pass Mathura and then get to Govardhan. So one day he was passing Mathura and he happened to pass by a Brahmin's house. And when he looked in the courtyard of this Brahmin's house, he saw 2 young, very attractive young boys playing together. And their names were Sadan and Madan. And he noticed that Sadhana and Madan. And he noticed that whoever would win, the other boy would have to carry them on their shoulders. So Sadhana won, and Madan did not want to carry him on his shoulders, so he ran really quickly inside the temple and changed into his deity form, Madan Mohan. And when Sadhana came into the temple, he couldn't see Madan anywhere. All he saw was a beautiful deity form standing there. And in this way, Sanatana Goswami saw that Madan is actually Krishna himself. So the next day, when he was traveling to Govardhan, passing Mathura, he again passed by this Brahmin's house, and he saw the 2 boys. They got hungry, and their mother started to cook for them. And he noticed that their mother did not bathe herself before cooking or change her clothes. And when she started cooking, she was stirring the pot of khichdi with a neem stick. And with the other side, she was also brushing her teeth. And Sanatana Goswami saw this and thought, how improper this is, because her son is Krishna himself, and you should never be dirty to cook for Krishna. So he told her to properly cook and that she should clean herself before she cooks for her sons. So the next day, when the mother was cooking for them, she took a while to bathe and dress herself. And Maharaj came running to Sanatana Goswami and said, "Oh Baba, now you told our mother to bathe and now she's taking so long and now we have to wait to eat. We can't wait to eat like you do. You're a renunciate. You can not eat for many days and be okay, but we're young boys, so we have to eat now when we're hungry because we're growing." And in this way, Sanatana Goswami realized that the love the mother had for her two young boys was so pure and so sweet that it really didn't matter if she was dirty to cook for them because she loved them so much. So he told her, you could just stay how you were cooking before, it doesn't matter. And then, so the very next day, he was again passing Mathura. And Madan came to Sanatana Goswami and said, "Oh Baba, please, I want to come back to you, or with you to Vrindavan." And Sanatana Goswami said, "Madan, you won't like it because I don't even have any place to stay and I sleep under different trees every night. And if you stay here with your mother, you get really nice prasadam every day. And if you come with me, you have to beg from different houses, and the small amount of food you get, you have to just eat and be okay with it." And Madan said, "Oh, it's okay, Baba, I will come with you, and whatever food we get together, we can share." So in this way, Sanatana Goswami agreed and said, "Okay, Madan, you can come with me." And when they got to Vrindavan, Sanatana Goswami built Madan a small hut on top of a hill. And they stayed there for a while until one day, Madan got hungry. And every day they were eating these dough balls called pattis, which they're not even like real chapatis. They just roll them and throw them in coal and cook them, and they're just like dough balls, no seasoning or anything. And Madan said, "Oh, Baba, I'm more hungry today than I usually am." And he said, "I don't need anything, just maybe can you please give me just a little salt? That's all I need, just a little seasoning." And Sanatana Goswami said, "Oh Madan, today you want salt, and tomorrow you'll want butter, and the next day you'll just keep asking for more and more." And he said, "You wanted to come with me to Vrindavan, and you came with me, and now I told you you have to just live how I live, simply, and just take what you have." And he said, "If you really want salt, you should go manifest it yourself." So the next day, a merchant's boat got stuck on the sandbar of Jamuna. And the merchant asked Sanatana Goswami and said, "Oh, please help me, my boat is stuck and I don't know how to get it unstuck. Can you help me? Do you know what to do?" And Sanatana Goswami immediately realized that the merchant's boat getting stuck was actually Madan's arrangement. And so Sanatana Goswami said, "You can go ask him on top of that hill. He knows everything. He will surely help you." So the merchant went to go pray to Madan Mohan on top of this hill. And as soon as he came back, the boat was unstuck, and he was so happy, so overjoyed. And he said that any profit he made from selling any of his goods or all of his salt, that he would use for the pleasure of Madan Mohan. And after that, every day, amazing prasadam was made every day for Madan Mohan. And today, if you go to India, go to Vrindavan, you can see a beautiful Madan Mohan temple, and that is how the Madan Mohan temple was made.
One day in Varanasi, a very poor Brahmin was worshipping Shiva for great wealth for the dowry for his daughter's wedding. And Shiva told this Brahmin that you should go, "I don't actually have a very great wealth. You should go to Sanatana Goswami, who is doing bhajan in Vrindavan. He will give you the greatest wealth." So the Brahmin goes to Sanatana Goswami in Vrindavan, and he finds him chanting and doing his bhajan. And he tells the Brahmin tells Sanatana Goswami that Shiva has sent me here to find the greatest wealth. Can you please give it to me? And Sanatana Goswami has to think for a few minutes. He's like, "Oh, I do have this touchstone in the sand by the Jamuna. You can go have this." And the Brahmin becomes very happy. And he goes and digs up this touchstone. And a touchstone, anything you touch to it will become gold. So it's very great wealth. And on the way home, this Brahmin, he thinks, oh, why does Sanatana Goswami keep this very great wealth in the sand by the Jamuna? It must not be the greatest wealth, his greatest thing. So the Brahmin goes back to Sanatana Goswami and says, you must have something greater than this. Can you please give it to me? So Sanatana Goswami says, on one condition, you throw this touchstone in the Jamuna. So the Brahmin, he takes his touchstone, he throws it in the Jamuna, and Sanatana Goswami gives him a Japamala and Mahamantra. So the Mahamantra is like a desire stone, which is even better, and it gives you any desire, but the best desire is to have Krishna's prem. So in this way, the Brahmin took this, and he went back to his home, and his daughter ended up marrying a very nice Vaishnav, and they all lived happily. And another story is that there was this one very rich king, and he came to Sanatana Goswami looking for some service to do. And Sanatana Goswami said that there's this one cracked stone step going into the Jamuna. You can go fix this. The rich king said, oh, I'm very rich, I can do way better service than this. Sanatana Goswami said, just go look at it and come back and tell me. And the rich king, he goes and he looks for the step, and he finds that inside the cracks there's full of very priceless jewels. And in this way the king realized that, oh, all my wealth couldn't fill this one crack. And in this way Sanatana Goswami shows the king the transcendental nature of Vrindavan.
These are all different presentations for the kids, and now they'll do the dance. Yes.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. We're clapping for kids. Very good. Nobody clapped for me. I'm also a kid. So this is how Srila Gurudev used to train us by speaking his beautiful pastimes of Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami. This is how we all got nourished and got to know those stories, which have so many lessons and morals in those stories. So much appreciation for the teacher who's training those kids, speaking the stories of Sri Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami. But I'm fault finder. I always find fault. Is it good or bad? It's bad, right? No, I'm the well-wisher. No, not fault finding, but just to bringing them on another level. They have to continue speaking this, otherwise they're going to forget. They're still kids. Next time, when they're going to do this kind of performance, whenever you're going to speak next time, speak with more emotions. You're not giving information. You have to speak with more emotions. Understand? If I say, today chiladas were delicious. Or if I say, today chiladas are so delicious. There's a big difference or not? So, very expressive. To speak in a very expressive way, with full emotions. This is one level, but I'm trying to bring you all on another level. The next time, speaking with expressions, speaking with emotions. Understand? Why I'm saying so? I was discussing with Shravan Prabhu the other day. A great responsibility on these kids now. Because we are getting old, and I don't know when the day is coming soon. You understand what I'm saying? All these kids, they have to take over these programs forever. This kind of satsanga, association program should always go on, no matter if we live or we don't live. So it's a great responsibility, and for that, my suggestion to parents and the sangha here, my personal suggestion is, let them take over these responsibilities. Let them make arrangement for the programs. Let them do serving of prasadam. No adult should prasadam. Let kids serve prasadam to all the Vaishnavas. Yeah, and let them start singing, and let them do all cleaning. In this way, a sense of responsibility. They will get this a sense of responsibility, and they will learn by doing mistakes. Doing mistakes is very important. I'm not negative on this. If we do mistakes, that means we are preparing ourselves for the next time to not to do mistakes. And gradually, those who are now growing, 19, 20 years old, Malika, Braja, and Nadia, slowly, gradually, they have to take over cookings. Yeah, and with the help and support of chopping everything with the younger ones. In this way, not all of a sudden, I'm saying gradually, we have to start imparting responsibilities, not heavy responsibilities, but small time responsibilities, and I'm very sure they're going to feel very happy about this after performance of responsibilities. Okay? A great responsibility on all you kids here. Hare Krishna. So, thank you for clapping. Today kids cook everything. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Not today. We have to do every program. Including the biggest one, Krishna Chaitanya, he's also here. So under his guidance. Yes, he's so much familiar. He knows Mridanga, everything. He's very perfect. So this is my just a request and a suggestion. Yes, slowly we have to put all the responsibilities on them to arrange, put mat for the devotees to come, cleaning, serving prasadam, and everyone will be so happy to see parents, especially they seeing that how their children they're growing in service mood. This is a very good habit. Okay, so not taking much time. The last program is dance. Who's going to dance?